Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video. I'm recording this on June 17th, 2012, and picking up after a break from the last episode. Now, when we left off in the last episode, we were exploring an idea that I really wasn't feeling very good about, which was the idea of taking out the getters and setters inside of application model and instead just operating directly on the underlying data structure, which is user configuration. Now, if you remember, we spent some time a few episodes ago taking this user configuration object out of application model, making it its own thing. And I like the user configuration quite a bit. The idea we were exploring in this last episode was whether or not it made sense, since we already had user configuration, for configuration panel to operate directly on that user configuration. And it just wasn't really doing good things. But the feedback I got in the comments was fairly positive. The consensus, as I remember, was to keep on going. You know, see where it goes. The observer pattern will probably clean it up a bit. So that's. I think I am going to just press on, as DF Jones says here. So thank you everybody for your comments. I am going to keep on with it, and we'll just see how it turns out. That is, of course, the nature of software development is you never really know whether or not your design ideas are a good idea until you've had a chance to see them play out in practice. And sometimes it takes a while for those ideas to really flesh themselves out and to really make their validity or invalidity known. So what I've got in configuration panel, I've now got the starting balance field. Yeah, I've now got the starting balance field operating directly on the user configuration. And we're just telling the application model to update itself. Now, let's make a note here. Change this to use observer pattern. That could prevent us from needing to have to pass in the application model at all, which I think would really clean things up dramatically. So let's make a note of that. All right. So starting balance field is now operating directly on the user configuration, which means that I might be able to take it out of here. I'm not sure. Before I started recording, I did run the test, and I know they were passing, so they aren't now, though. Okay, so they're still in use. We've got, let's see. So in configuration panel test, we've got it here, fields initialized to model value. Yeah, that's appropriate. but we could just as easily have it initialized to the user configuration, which would be the same thing. Yeah, I think what I'd like us to be trying to accomplish here is I'd like us to get to the point where what we're doing is configuration panel operates solely on user configuration. And that's going to require us to use observer pattern in between application model and user configuration. Or we could take the simpler way of having configuration panel call method on application model as we do now. But then we wouldn't be able to get away from passing the application model into configuration panel. I don't know if, for me, it's been a couple of weeks since we last worked on this. For you, it's probably only been a few days. But what I really dislike about the way configuration panel is working right now is we're passing in the application model and the user configuration, but user configuration is directly accessible from application model. So there's really no point to be passing them both in. We're also operating on both. It feels like we're working at two different levels of abstraction. I'm just not really happy about it. So configuration panel constructor should take just one model, either application model or user configuration. And I think it makes a lot more sense that the model for configuration panel be the user configuration, not the application model. So let's keep working on it, see where this goes. Okay, and as long as we're in here, let's and that should still pass. All right, now we can go after the other one, application model test. Changing the starting balance should change the model. Well, if we're going to take that method out, we can just take that out entirely, I presume. Actually, we're going to take both these out. Yeah. So once we've taken that out, we should now be able to go in and get rid of this and this and that and that. And that worked. All right. Okay. So now let's just do the same thing again with the next one. I wonder if I should just use local configuration. All right, and that's going to fail because we're not updating the user configuration. And will it still fail in the same way if I just use, well, user configuration? Yeah, it looks like it. Good, that simplifies things a bit. Actually, I'm going to put this back for now. I saw 2 failures on that last run, and that didn't look right. Okay, 1 failure. So here, that should work. It does. Good. You can get rid of this to do. I put that in the scratch pad instead. Now I'm going to comment this out. Yeah, that still works because I'm not testing that particular thing at the moment. And now I'm going to try putting the user configuration in here. I don't think that's going to work because I think it's aliased. I think it's the wrong variable. Yeah, so we'll have to come back to that. And then now, here we just want to say that the configuration updated called. That's going to fail because it's not called. But it's easily fixed. And there we go. Now we can go into application model and get rid of this. We are no longer going to have this because we're not going to have set starting cost basis. And here we'll look directly at the user configuration. That should still work. Anybody using this? Nope. Now we can get rid of them. Oh, and we've got the, nobody was using them, but we did have a override here that we can get rid of, and there. Yeah, this spy is getting simpler and simpler, and I think we're going to be able to get rid of it entirely, which was the entire point of this operation, was to get away from having to use mocks. So I think we are going to get there. It's just taking a little longer. Well, honestly, a lot longer than I expected. But that's all the time we have for this episode. So thanks very much, everybody. I will catch you next time.